So I'm Robin Tucker. I'm from the Coalition for Healthy Streets and Active Transport in Oxfordshire, COSAT for short. We're a coalition of 10 environmental and active travel organisations. And I want to talk to you today about health and equality in streets and the urban environment. And when I talk about healthy streets, you might think first about the health and dangers of road casualties, because that's the thing that tends to make the news. And on UK streets, there are actually 5 people killed on average every day. But that is the smallest of the dangers. The danger from air pollution is actually about 10 times as large as that. 10 to 20,000 people killed every year from air pollution. But even bigger than that, about 100,000 people die every year early because of physical inactivity. And in Oxfordshire, about a quarter of adults and nearly half of children don't meet NHS guidelines for physical inactivity. It's about as dangerous as tobacco, to put it in context. There's a strange phenomenon here in that people are scared of the perceived danger of active travel, of cycling and walking, and so about 2/3 of people think the roads are too dangerous to cycle on, but the real danger is not being active, and so it's not cycling, and this extends to walking as well. So think about how many children are driven to school because their parents think it's too dangerous to let them walk to school or let them cycle to school, but actually the real danger of the habits being formed of using the car, being in the car, rather than taking that active and independent journey to school by walking, scooting or cycling. The danger of inactivity is always much, much bigger, as that chart on the left indicates. The physical danger of walking and cycling is almost invisible compared to the danger of inactivity. And these dangers are not equal across society. If we take air pollution again, it's the wealthier people who own the most cars create the most pollution, where the poorer people tend to have fewer cars, but yet they live in the areas which experience the most air pollution. They also have typically less access to public transport, buses, for example. They have less access to green spaces. They have less access to other services and shops, and this leads to poorer health outcomes. They tend to get iller, they tend to live longer, and in Oxford you see a 10-year life expectancy difference between the richer areas of Oxford and the more deprived areas of Oxford. And so I won't go into the charts, you can study that later, but that's some of the evidence behind it. So where does active travel come into this? Well, active travel is a great way of building healthy activity into your life, and it's really open to everyone. It's cheap. You can buy a bicycle for the price of a fuel tank, filling up a tank of fuel these days. If you're in a situation where you have to have a car, as some people say they do, that's really a heavy tax, thousands of pounds. A pair of shoes is, of course, even cheaper. Disability active travel is really an enabler for a lot of disabled people. It gives them an independent mode of transport that's much cheaper than a car. And while cycling is less prevalent among disabled people, it's a lot less of a difference than many people would think. And of course, many disabled people will walk or do an equivalent of walking with a stick or a roller or a wheelchair. And there are other benefits to other people. Children really need to be healthy and active. Other people with other conditions, 1/3 of households in Oxford don't have a car at all. Just think about those. And even if you don't use active travel, I think we all do walk at some point, you're benefiting from lower pollution, reducing the road danger. So let's think about how we get to having more active and healthy travel on the streets. There's a basic principle in the design, which is if you have car-dominated streets, you get only the brave. So you get the stereotypical image of the lycra-clad cyclist, typically male, typically from secure backgrounds, white middle-class people like me. In other words, But if you build environments which are safe and secure, they're open to more people. It's open to women, it's open to children, it's open for more people from ethnic backgrounds, and that's been proved time and time again in cities where better cycle lanes, off-road cycle routes, low traffic neighbourhoods have been built. You can see it in Rymers Lane in Oxford. On the left, that was before the low traffic neighbourhoods, it was car choked. Now you see more bicycles, in fact there's more bicycles in that picture than there were cars in the previous one. And this is not easy because what you're talking about here is both a change in the streets, in the infrastructure, where you need to make walking and cycling and wheeling more safe, and that the layouts we have for the last 15 years have really been built around cars. So you've got housing on the city's edge, you've got very often places where the shops and services aren't near where people live, and you've got roads that are hostile, often the pavements are narrow and there aren't enough crossings. But you've also got the habits that we've all built up around our journeys. We've kind of got the loads that we carry, we've got, we're attached to the benefits of cars. Sorry, we're attached to the benefits of cars, so we're used to carrying things, we're used to the convenience, we've got think about the emotional benefits of cars, the social benefits, there's a certain status attached to cars. We've got the habits as well, the rat runs we might use, the weekly shop. In the past it used to be people shopped for smaller amounts more often, the school run that I talked about earlier. So my advice as you think about this in your in the Q&A sessions and your deliberations later, think about the changes that would allow more healthy travel in your community, particularly short journeys. What changes would you like to see happen? How would you like your streets to look and feel? What are the barriers that stop people walking or cycling or getting around more healthily? Are they infrastructure? Are they functional things, the actual journeys they make? Are they emotional things, how people feel? Are they social, what you think other people think about you, in other words? And what needs to happen to overcome those barriers so that people can get into a more healthy situation? Because, to go back to where I started, it's that health, the health effect that is the really big number, the really big impact in all of this. Thank you.